Everyone in Hollywood, they wanna be a star. Everybody knows someone who knows someone who is. There's an agent and hanging out every other corner. 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 on every other bar. In Hollywood, yes, I'm glad to be in Hollywood.
Low again. With us at this time is someone who practices illusion, but in a manner different from most. Although he doesn't deal in sleight of hand, he works magic both visually and orally. The current attraction in the Cynic Grill of the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, our guest today is the unique Jim Bailey.
Come on, get happy. You gotta chase all your cares away. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. Get ready for the judgment day. The sun is shining, come on, get happy. The Lord is waiting to take your hand. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. We're gonna be going to the promised land. We're heading across the river, wash your sins away. Come on, get happy. You gotta chase all your cares away. Hallelujah, come on, get happy. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready for the judgment day.
Mr. Bailey, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
God. Judy Garland, how many years you been doing Garland? You really started with Garland, didn't you?
No, I actually started with Phyllis Diller.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I've been doing, I guess I've been doing them all for about almost 20 years.
20?
Actually, I've been doing Phyllis a little bit longer because, as I said, Phyllis was the first one that I did.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, it's been almost 20 years.
Garland, Jim Bailey, Philadelphia. Studied opera.
Mm-hmm.
Opera. You wanted to be an opera singer. Tell me about that.
Well, I didn't particularly want to be an opera singer, but my family decided that I wanted to sing.
Mm-hmm.
And my family took me to I was singing pop music, you know.
Right.
And so they took me to this guy in Philadelphia who handled a lot of rock, at that time, you know, rock stars.
Yes.
And recordings. He did recordings. And rock and roll kind of things. And he was a voice coach. And, of course, he was also one of these sly people, and I went in there and sang one song for him. He said, oh, God, the kid is great.
Uh-huh.
I want to sign him right now. I'm going to make him a star, and blah, blah, blah. And my aunt said to my mother, she said, you know, I think we should have another opinion about this, because the guy is just a little bit too anxious. And I was very, very young. You know, I was a kid.
How old were you?
So 12.
12.
So they took me to the Conservatory of Music. My aunt said, let's get into another phase and let's go to somebody that really knows music and voice. So we went to the Conservatory of Music. And I auditioned for this particular lady teacher who was, her name was, I guess it still is if she's still around, Miss Caruso, but she's now Mrs. somebody. Anyway, she heard me sing, and of course, you know, I, being that young and having had the praise from this guy about how great I was, I walked in there like, well, I'm just going to sing a song, and she's going to want me too. So I sang this song, and she said, oh, God, that's awful.
She said that?
She said, you know, he's breathing wrong, his shoulders are going up, it's all the intonation, and I was crushed. And she said, however, she said, now the boy has a wonderful instrument. He has the makings of a wonderful voice. I mean, the voice was there. It just needed training. So my aunt said to me, now this is the place that you should be. And of course, I wanted to go to the other place because the guy loved me.
Right.
But I also knew in the back of my mind that it was the right choice to go to the conservatory. So I went, and every other day, going to my lesson, and I hated going on the bus and going to my lesson.
Persistence, though, Jim. That
I
makes
know,
it.
and
Keep
I had
studying.
to do all the scales,
Right.
and my teacher was really strict with me.
And she'd say things like, you know, stop reaching for the high note. You look like a chicken. And and don't lift your shoulders. I was taught how to breathe properly through my diaphragm, and all those important things. Now looking back on it, if I hadn't had that training, I could never be doing what I do vocally now, ever.
Those women. I mean,
I
Peggy
could
Lee,
never be
Strice,
doing
and all.
it. I change my voice with everybody that I do. It's a different. I mean, Peggy Lee doesn't sound like Phyllis Diller, and
Right.
she doesn't sound like Judy,
Right.
and she doesn't sound like Barbara, or you know, you can go on and on and on. So with my training, I was able to know.
Yes.
I am able to know what is a head voice, what is a chest voice, how to sing from here or from the head, and all those different things that you don't learn when you go into the studio with a
Right.
guy that does rock and roll recordings, you know, and he doesn't care with a big cigar. So, but I see, and I do not sing in falsetto. I've never sung in falsetto. It's the way that I place my voice and where I place it. But I also have the talent to hear. See, what I do is, and I really can't explain this to you because I really don't know how I do it. I can hear a sound or a voice,
Right.
and I can recreate that by listening and in my mind
Right.
singing it. I can't do that with everybody. You know, with
Yes.
every, you know, I can't do dogs. But
Jim Bailey
yes.
from Philadelphia. What happened after? You went into a Broadway show, off-Broadway shows?
Well, I did
as
chorus
Bailey.
things. Yeah.
And then, how did Jim Bailey get into women's attires? I mean, impressions and doing, because you started with Phyllis Diller because you wanted to be a comedian after.
No, I didn't want to be a comedian. What happened was I did off-Broadway things, and I did Broadway things, you know,
Right,
in the chorus. Not a lot of things, for about a year, I
Right.
guess. And then I went in a show, and I got the juvenile lead in a show in Chicago. And then from Chicago, I came to California. And in California, I did nightclubs.
Right.
And I did the Playboy circuit and things like that.
As
a
Phyllis
singer.
Diller?
No,
or
as
just a singer, as Jim
As,
Bailey.
you know, and I was getting good reviews, but I didn't have any money. I didn't have anybody behind me, any backing, and I didn't have a gimmick. You know what I'm saying?
Who came up with the idea for Jim
Well-
Bailey to get into women's attire?
Into women's attire. I love that word, attire.
Attire, yeah.
Attire on the car.
Right.
I was, as I said, I was working in clubs, and from knowing Phyllis, I used to hang out with Phyllis, and I used to watch her, you see, and observe. And I started picking up on her monologues and her laugh and things, and at parties, I would just sort of do it as a bit.
I see.
And somebody said to me one night, why don't you, you know, it's a shame you can't put that into your show somehow, incorporate it. So the seed was planted in my mind about doing that, and things got a little tough, you know, and you struggle and you try to make
Right.
your way, and one night I was sitting at the insurance company.
It was tough for a boy singer at those
Oh,
days.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's funny because boy singers had their period.
Yeah.
Then they sort of went
Yeah.
out of style, so to speak. They're out of style now.
Especially with their good boy singers.
Oh, right.
Good boy singers.
Right. If you can understand the lyric,
Yeah.
they don't want you.
They don't want you. You're right.
No. But
I like the idea what you did though. That was a great idea.
So I sat there at the insurance company. I was working there at nighttime, and I kept thinking, God, there's got to be some way. I've got to do this because I knew I could do it. And I thought that if I did it, I couldn't just do it in a fright wig and a tuxedo. I was really going to have to go all the way and do it.
Yes.
But you see, in my mind, I never looked upon it as, oh my God, I'm going to wear a dress as female impersonation. I never thought about it that way. I thought about it as character acting. So you see, it's like I really do the same thing that Hal Holbrook does with Mark
Right.
Twain, or James Whitmore does with what's his name? Will Rogers.
Rogers.
Only I happen to be doing women as
Women,
opposed to
yes.
men, and I happen to be singing.
And you are one of the best illusionists in town because
I think I'm the only one that
bring
sings.
you bring that person alive.
Well, I
You do,
try.
don't you feel it?
Yeah, I try to do that. That's what I strive
I've got to
for.
ask you a question. Getting to be Judy Garland, it's tough. How do you gear yourself up when you're going in? Say you're opening in a club. You're opening here at the Center Grill at the Roosevelt Hotel.
Right.
And you're going to be there for a few weeks, 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
I cannot believe you are going to gear yourself up every night for Judy Garland. You're going to be Judy Garland every night. How you geared yourself up for a performance like that? Julie Bailey, how do you do it? I just don't
Well,
You become that
I,
person, Jim.
in the course of the 2.5 hours that I spend in the dressing room, making
2.5
up
hours?
Well, that
It takes-
includes
Makeup.
body makeup and hair and costuming and all that. So it's about 2.5 hours. Yeah, during that period is when I start slipping away into Judy.
How do you slip your?
Well,
how do you slip?
I don't know. That's something that I do. That as an actor, I really can't explain how I do that. I just let myself submerge into Judy.
Uh-huh.
But I have a hook on it. I don't let go totally. You know, there are a lot of actors who can't shake the character off. Like you've heard the story about
Yes.
when people have done films and they can't seem to get rid of that character when
Right.
they go home.
But you can.
Well, yeah, because I'm controlling it. I guess I could lose control if I chose to, but that would mean I was still in control, wouldn't it? So I really don't lose control. I'm there.
That's interesting what you just said. You should do a film about that, about your impressions, about your illusionist, and losing control, and being that person, and all of us. It would be a great script, wouldn't it be, Jim?
About somebody that lost control.
Lost control,
Yeah.
and you killed the other person because you can't. And you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Be a wonderful script for you.
Didn't I do something like that?
Did you? Yeah, you did. You did Vultures. Something is
That was a
great
that was the
movie.
one about the guy who was
No,
killing his family
no,
and
right.
posing as
That was. Tell me about
relatives.
Vultures. That was a great movie with
Well, that was
Yvonne DiCarlo and-
Yvonne DiCarlo.
Oh.
It was a fun thing for me to do. It was hard work.
Stuart Whitman.
Because I did 6 different characters in the film.
6.
I did 6 different characters. One of them was an old man, and I played his mother, and I played the daughter, and I played a lot of different people. It was a tour de force as an actor, but the makeups were very, very difficult, and one of them was like a 5.5-hour makeup, because I had to wear dark blue contact
Yes.
lenses, and I was playing an 86-year-old woman, and when I finished the film, I was an 86-year-old woman. And they had to put layers of latex, and nobody thought about the fact that when I put the contacts in after the makeup was on, that because of the heavy makeup, when I closed my eyes, that the makeup was pushing the contacts
Yes.
against the eyelid, against my eyeball, and
Yes.
it was like a knife going through my, every time I blinked. So I could only wear them for a certain amount of time before my eyes went.
How about the heels
So,
and the gowns?
how about those
and
heels?
You're on
I
them
was
all
shooting
the
my feet, I was wearing no heels.
Well, I'm talking about when you do your Streisand's and your Garlands, and you're always in tight dresses and garters and whatever you are.
Garters?
Well, I don't know. Do they wear garters? I don't know. Tell me about that. Is it...
You get used to things, you know?
You do?
I'm used to wearing the heels when I go on stage.
do you get upset when people call you a female impersonator, Jim? Because you're not. Not at all. You're an artist.
No.
Do you get upset?
Well, I used to get upset, but if I can explain to people,
Yes.
why I'm not.
Yes.
There was a time when I first started doing what I'm doing, and I was very defensive about what I did.
Right.
And I hadn't even started using the term illusionist at
Right.
the time. I was saying impressionist, which is not what I am at all.
No.
An impression is something that lasts for a few seconds and then it's gone.
Yes.
A la Rich Little or someone like
Yes.
that does impressions, fast
Yes,
kind of
yes.
things. But I couldn't find a term. But people would say when a man wears a dress, you are automatically put into the pigeonhole of he's got to be a female impersonator.
Right.
But it's like I'd like to say that or explain in my explanation. If Dustin Hoffman had done Tootsie as the very first film he ever did as an unknown actor,
Yes.
they would have called him a female impersonator. But
Right.
because the man had a background or has a background of being a character
Right.
actor,
Right.
they never put that tag on him because he's doing a character
Right.
of this
Right.
lady named Dorothy Michaels.
Yes.
So they never used that term, but he's doing the same thing that I do. Only I do famous women,
And very good.
and I don't do. Well, I'm not putting down female impersonation. What I've done is I've taken that art form, and through acting and through my own singing ability,
Right.
I've changed that and made my own art form as an illusionist singer illusionist.
It was
But I
difficult
still,
for you. It was difficult for you at the beginning, though, wasn't it, Jim, to overcome that? Was it, or
To
was
overcome what?
to say you were not a female impersonator?
Well,
It
no, it
was.
wasn't difficult
Was
for me to say I wasn't. It was
No,
it was
difficult to let the people accept that.
I used to say, not used to, I hate to say, I used to say, I have said that, and recently when somebody was interviewing me and they hadn't seen me perform,
Right.
And she said to me, well, why do you think, why are you, after I explained the whole thing, she said,
Right.
why do you consider yourself an illusionist? Why do you say you're not a female impersonator? And I said, this is the way you can learn.
Uh-huh.
Come and see my show,
Right.
and then after you see my show, you tell me what you think that I'm doing.
Right.
And she came to see the show, and she came backstage and she said, well, of course. Of course you're not a female
Yes,
impersonator.
exactly.
But you see, the thing is, some people have to see. They have to see it.
The Judy Garland. I discovered you, and I just got back from Europe. You were on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Oh, my
The
God.
first Ed Sullivan you did.
No,
You were-
not the
well, you
first
were-
Ed Sullivan.
But that,
I
I'm
was
talking
only-
about
I wasn't
you were
even born when he did the
No,
first
I'm
show.
talking about that's the first time.
The first time I was on
I
television.
discovered you.
Yeah.
You were on the Ed Sullivan Show.
And it was one of his last shows, as a matter
It
of fact.
was?
Yeah. It was, I grew up
That was
as
a great
kid
show.
every
Great
Sunday
show.
night watching the Ed Sullivan Show.
Uh-huh.
And with a dream, one day I want to do
What
the Ed
was
Sullivan Show. and I
reaction
got to
that
do it
American
twice.
audience got from Jim Bailey on seeing Garland and Judy Garland herself? Ooh,
Yeah.
Tell me about that evening.
It was one of the most exciting evenings of my career. It was the very beginning of it, actually.
Right.
And Ed Sullivan had seen me in Las Vegas and came backstage, and he sort of was like, like there was a hanger still in his suit. And he, I want to book you on my show. And I was thrilled. I was thrilled just to meet the guy.
Uh-huh.
So I did his show and did it twice. And it was an honor to do that.
You were just great in it.
Over the years, the man had everybody in show business or
Exactly.
whoever had a dog act or a seal or whatever. I mean, it was the thing to do at that time, to be on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Exactly.
And nationwide on Sunday nights.
I'd love to see the Garland thing. You're bringing Garland to Los Angeles at
I'm
the
bringing
Cinegrill.
Judy here, yes.
And Judy is. Tell me about Judy Garland. You're bringing to Los Angeles.
Well,
you're going to be
it's,
appearing at the Cinegrill, and it's an outrageous. Eartha Kitt's there now,
Right.
and I think it's going to be sensational for you.
I hope so. I'm doing a new kind of a show. I mean, it's Judy, but it's a show, we're calling
Right.
the show Broadway to Hollywood.
Broadway.
So I'm doing songs primarily that are from Broadway and from motion pictures.
I'd like to see a clip you brought of Garland getting.
All right.
This is a wonderful clip. Can I see it?
Sure.
Okay. Thanks.
Ah, ding, ding, went the bell. Zing, 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 went my heartstrings. From the moment I saw him, I fell. Chop, 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 went the motor. Bump, 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 went the brake. Bump, 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 went my heartstrings. When he smiled, you could feel the car shake. He tipped his hat and took a seat. He said he hoped he hadn't stepped upon my feet. He asked my name, I held my breath. I couldn't speak because he scared me half to death. Buzz, buzz, buzz went the buzzer. Plop, plop, plop went the wheels. Stop, stop went my heartstrings. As he started to leave, I took hold of his sleeve with my hand. And the ticket was wet. He stayed on with me. With the strand and the stand with his hand. Holding my hand to the end of the
Jim Bailey. God help us. Jim Bailey. Wow. Judy Garland. Have you met her?
Yes, I met Judy before she passed away.
How does she react when she's seen Jim Bailey on stage as Judy Garland? What kind of reaction does she get?
Well, she was very sweet. She was nervous when she came into the club where I was. But you have to understand, how would you feel if you walked into a theater or a club, as any of the ladies that I do,
Right.
and saw on the stage a person who looked like you,
Right.
who sounded like you, who moved like you, who was
Yes.
wearing a costume or a gown similar to yours, the kind that you wear, and it was like doing almost an exact recreation of you. It has to unnerve you.
Yeah.
And now, on top of it, a man doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know that it intimidates Barbara. I would be like a little unhinged if I walked into a place and saw somebody doing Jim Bailey.
Right.
A really accurate kind of a thing. It would knock me over.
Jim.
So Judy was a little crazed, you know. She laughed and she was, but she was like a little nervous about it. She was very complimentary, and at the time, you know, I was just starting out. I was nobody. I wasn't a
Right.
success at all then. And before I became successful, Judy had passed away. So at the time, I don't know whether she really thought that I was going to become successful. And I'm thinking somewhere around there, she's probably saying to herself or to me in some way, because I think she really has become part of me. She's probably saying, you know, I'm glad that you made it, that you're still sustaining me, because she does live through me in many ways. Performance-wise.
That was Judy Garland. She was tormented as a child. The MGM kept her.
And now on top. A man doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know that it intimidates Barbara. I would be like a little unhinged if I walked into a place and saw somebody doing Jim Bailey. You know,
Right.
a really accurate kind of a thing. It would knock me over.
Jim.
So Judy was a little crazed. You know, she laughed and she was, but she was like a little nervous about it. She was very complimentary, and at the time, you know, I was just starting out. I was nobody. I wasn't a
Right.
success at all then. And before I became successful, Judy had passed away. So at the time, I don't know whether she really thought that I was going to become successful. And I'm thinking somewhere around there, she's probably saying to herself or to me in some way, because I think she really has become part of me. She's probably saying, you know, I'm glad that you made it, that you're still sustaining me, because she does live through me in many ways. Performance-wise.
That was Judy Garland. She was tormented as a child. The MGM kept her working and pushed her, and she started drinking at a young age and taking drugs and pills.
She
and,
was the,
and lonely and is that what made her such a good artist, Jim?
No, not
No?
at all.
What
Not
made her
at
such
all.
a great artist?
I think that Judy was born with, she had an instrument, a very fine instrument, a great voice. When she was a little kid, there are recordings of Judy. She had that, her voice was strong, it was natural.
Yes, but
It
she
was
brought that
perfect.
torment to the stage.
Yeah, but the thing is, after she became an adult, she
Yes.
allowed the experiences of her past
Past.
life to enter in and become part of her music.
But the people loved that,
the
though, didn't they?
basis, the basic voice was always there.
Yeah.
The basic love of singing and I mean, she was like a natural. They used to call people like that. She was a natural. I mean, she should be a performer. It was she loved it. She loved being on stage. But at that time, when she was a child, she was the victim of that. Of the times, not only of the times, but I mean, I'm sure it still happens, where a stage mother and a studio saw that talent and saw that sort of a gold mine.
Kept working.
And she became a means to an end for a lot of people. They sort of forgot the fact that she was a human being also. She had no childhood, really. She was put to work, and that's the main thing about Judy Garland's life that was most important to everyone around her, was get her to work, you know, sing, yeah, rehearse, do this. And that's where the pills came in, the amphetamines, to get that, you know, don't sleep now. It's like she told me a story, and it's been written about Busby Berkeley was directing a film,
Judy did?
that she and Mickey were doing, and she was almost to the point where she was going to faint. She was hungry and she was tired, and she said, you know, during when he yelled cut, she said,
Right.
"Oh, Mr. Berkeley, you know, I just need to rest a little bit." And he says, "Oh, just dance faster and you won't think about it."
She
And now that's the kind of economy. You dance faster.
was tired.
She was tired. The girl was
They
tired.
kept
so,
her working.
So they kept her, you know, on the pills and things. And then at nighttime, when they were tired, sometimes, like Mickey Rooney told me, you know, they wouldn't even go home. They would give them sedation and put them in the infirmary at MGM, and they'd sleep. And the next morning, the same thing. Now, you're talking about a child or a young
Yes.
woman, a young girl. Now, after a childhood of
Yes.
that kind of addiction to, she became addicted to, you know, to the drugs. Now you become a woman and you grow up and you go out into the world, but she's still performing. Now it has to, you know, you hang on to certain things in your life. That's what she was. She grew up with all that. So
Do you think
why
you-
wouldn't she take it into
Do you
her
think you
adult life?
kept Judy Garland's name, I know I shouldn't say that, alive, but her performance, you kept her performance alive, Jim.
mean keep
You're
it alive?
Yeah, keep it alive. You just, because you're bringing
I
her
like to.
alive. Yeah.
I
Jim
like
Bailey,
to what I strive for always is to. There were times when Judy had tough times on stage when she was not up to par, and she shouldn't have been performing. She shouldn't have even been on stage at those times. But though many of those times,
Have you seen those times when she did perform?
Yeah, before when I
Yes.
was young, I saw a couple of. No, not really that bad. When she was really, you know, when she was really in bad shape.
yeah.
But there
Had
were
an audience
times when she
waiting
was
5
in bad
hours, 6
shape.
hours.
But the thing is, she had to go on because many times she needed the money.
Hours, 6 hours.
But the thing is, she had to go on because many times she needed the money. Now, that's a sad thing to say, but she really did need the money a lot of times because she was mismanaged, her money was mishandled. She wasn't a businesswoman, really. She
Yes.
wanted to sing. She said, the happiest time of my life and when I'm most happy is when I'm performing on stage. So when I do Judy, what I strive for, in my mind a lot, I like I do Judy when I like to think at her best,
Yes.
when she was in good form, looking good, singing great, and feeling terrific.
Yes.
I'd like to think that I've made up for a lot of the times when she really wasn't able to give her best on stage. I would
It's
never go
ju-
on stage and try to do a characterization of Judy during a hard period of her life. That just isn't what I'm doing it. To me, that would be totally wrong. I wouldn't do it with any of my ladies. I like to see them, you know, perform and be at their best,
So when
like
you-
I am when I. To me, that would be totally wrong. I wouldn't do it with any of my ladies. I like to see them, you know, perform and be at their best,
So when
like
you-
I am when I
So you
perform as
love your
myself.
ladies. You love your...
Very much.
You
I'm very
love them.
protective about my ladies.
You are.
Mm-hmm.
Is Jim Bailey spiritual?
Spiritual. How do you mean, religiously or?
No, just spiritual within yourself and...
Yes. Yes, I think I
You
am.
are?
Yeah, I know I am. I know I am.
If
I
Jim
think I
Bailey
hesitated
is-
because I really can't explain that either too well.
Looking No, just spiritual within yourself and
Yes, yes, I think I
You
am.
are?
Yeah, I know I am. I know I am.
If
I
Jim
think I
Bailey
hesitated because I really can't explain that either too well.
looking back in 20 years you've been doing your ladies. Are you satisfied?
Oh, no. Oh,
You're
no, not at all.
Tell me.
Satisfied? No. There are many
Would you do
things-
something a little different then?
Oh, well, we all, being a perfectionist, we always will say that. Perfectionists are, it's tough being a perfectionist because you always want to go back and try to do it a little better. It's difficult for us to say, oh, okay, that's perfect, and live with it. It's difficult to do that, and you take that into your personal life too when you're a perfectionist, and it's like, it's tough when the people around you when you are that
Yes.
way. I know it is with me.
You were going to marry Lucille Ball's daughter, Lucy Arnaz. You kids were together for several years.
We were together, we went together for about 2 years.
2 years.
And we've known each other since then for, many years.
What happened to that? I mean, you were very close, but you still are close, and you're good friends still.
Yes. Yes, it was a very sad situation, too, when
Lucille
Lucille
Ball.
Ball passed away, yeah. So, it's sort of like, she was one of those ladies that, or one of those people, performers, that you really did think they were going to be with us always.
Yes.
You never think about her leaving. I think that the reason that we didn't work out was because, the main reason was because she was we're both very young. I mean, she was younger than I was, but she wanted a career, and
Yeah.
I guess in my own way, there's a lot of, there's a chauvinist side of me that wanted to, if I were to get married
Yes.
to Lucy or anybody else, I would expect that woman to
Yes.
be a wife and be a mother. I mean, I know I'm very liberal in everything I think about, and,
Yes.
and in many aspects. But in that aspect, I realized that, yeah, to me, marrying means that the wife stays to dance, and I couldn't ask her to do that, and she wouldn't have done it anyway.
Yes.
And her mother was the one who
mother?
sat
I
down
see.
with me one night, and she said,
see.
Jim,
I see.
you're going to, are you going to spend your life
Yes.
and in many aspects. But in that aspect, I realized that, yeah, to me, marrying means that the wife stays to dance, and I couldn't ask her to do that, and she wouldn't have done it anyway.
Yes.
And her mother was the one who
mother?
sat
I
down
see.
with me one night, and she said,
see.
Jim,
I see.
You're going to, are you going to spend your life in airports, saying hello and goodbye in airports? She said, you know, you both have careers, and she
Yes.
wants what you have.
Yes.
And it was a very serious kind of a
I see.
situation.
Barbara
was sad
Streisand.
because,
Barbara Streisand. You do that in your act. You do a one-lady Barbara Streisand.
One lady, just one.
One.
A one
That's
lady.
do.
Why?
Difficult.
Yes,
I don't know,
it's difficult.
I'd like to see that clip, though.
The
I
Barbara?
want right away. I want to
All
see
right.
that clip
All
right
right.
away. Can I?
Sure, right away.
Okay. Barbara
Absolutely.
Streisand.
I want to hear it.
Okay.
Now.
The skies above here again. So let's sing the song of cheer again. Happy nights, happy times, happy days are here again.
Nice. God. Ooh,
just held that right with her.
God. It's tough. Has she
Yeah.
seen you? She's
Yes.
seen you several times.
Yes.
That's a
well,
perfectionist, too.
Oh,
Total perfectionist.
absolutely. That's why
Yeah,
she's known as
yeah,
being
yeah,
temperamental and
yeah.
difficult and
Uh-huh.
hard to deal with. You know, when you are a perfectionist, you have those terms are definitely attached to you.
Yeah.
But
Is Jim
that's-
Bailey hard to deal with?
I'm temperamental and difficult when things should be different than what they are, and
Uh-huh.
they can be, but they're not.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
seem very, very happy right at this period of your time.
I am. One time.
Yes, I mean, you know,
I'm
you just
very
got
happy.
back from Boston.
Boston, I won
You
an
won
award.
an award.
I got an award for the best out-of-town entertainer of the year.
Congratulations.
Yes,
I'm so happy
that was
for
nice.
you.
Boston was
You know,
a good
I'm very
town.
anxious to see you right now, and you, Jim Bailey is bringing Judy Garland Broadway to Hollywood.
Broadway
oh,
to
boy, am
Hollywood.
I happy to see you at the Cine Grill. Boy, that's going to be thrilling. Have you seen Eartha Kitt there?
Yes, I did.
It's a good show. She's so
Oh,
good.
she's
I interviewed her a
wonderful.
few days ago.
Yeah, she's
She-
wonderful.
Yes.
I enjoyed it very much.
You live in Hollywood now. Are you staying here?
No, I-